Ashford Lodge was a place of shadows. The old house loomed over the village. It was a brooding presence. The estate was vast, stretching across the wild moors. Ashford Lodge had known happier times. Now its stone walls were crumbling. Ivy choked its once elegant facade. The windows were dark eyes staring out at the world. The house was a relic of a bygone era. It held secrets within its walls, dark secrets. The locals knew its history. They spoke of it in hushed tones. The Endicotts had been a prominent family. Their lineage was long and storied. They were masters of Ashford Lodge for generations, but their prosperity was not to last. A darkness had fallen over the family. It began with a whisper, a curse, some said. It was a tale whispered from generation to generation. The curse spoke of greed and betrayal. It spoke of a terrible price to be paid. The Endicotts, blinded by their wealth, paid no heed. They dismissed it as a foolish superstition. How wrong they were! The curse had woven itself into their bloodline. It waited patiently to claim its due. Henry Endicott was the last of his line. He was a recluse, haunted by the family curse. His sister, Beatrice, lived with him. She was a frail woman, her spirit broken by tragedy. They were the last remnants of a once proud family.
Henry, where have you gone? Please come back.
Then, one cold November night, Henry vanished. He disappeared without a trace. The villagers searched the moors. They found nothing.
Beatrice, help me, Beatrice.
Some whispered of the curse. They said it had claimed him at last. Beatrice was left alone. She remained at Ashford Lodge, a solitary figure consumed by grief. Years passed. The house stood empty, shrouded in silence. Then Harold and Margaret Thompson arrived. They were a young couple from the city. They were full of hope and ambition. They saw Ashford Lodge as a fresh start, a chance to escape the city's clamour.
You should be careful. There's talk of a curse, and many have disappeared.
Oh, come on now, it's just old wives' tales. Nothing to worry about.
The villagers warned them. They spoke of the curse and the disappearances. Harold laughed off their concerns. He dismissed them as mere superstition.
Harold, maybe we should listen. I don't know. This place gives me the creeps.
Margaret was not so sure. She felt a sense of unease. There was something about Ashford Lodge. It filled her with a creeping dread, but she said nothing. She did not want to appear foolish. The Thompsons set about restoring Ashford Lodge. They brought in workmen. They filled the house with laughter and light, but beneath the surface a darkness lingered. At night the silence was broken by strange noises. There were whispers and moans. Footsteps echoed in the empty corridors.
Harold, I feel a presence in this house. A cold, unseen presence that watches our every move.
It's just the wind, Margaret, or the old house settling. There's nothing to be afraid of.
But he too felt a chill run down his spine. He tried to ignore it. He refused to be afraid. One evening, a thick fog rolled in from the moors. It blanketed the house in an eerie silence. The air grew heavy. It was difficult to breathe.
Harold, we need to leave. This fog, it feels wrong.
It's just fog, Margaret. It will pass. There's no need to worry.
But as the night wore on, the fog grew thicker. It seeped into the house. It filled every room with a cold, damp mist. Margaret's fear intensified. She clung to Harold, her eyes wide with terror. Harold decided to go outside. He wanted to see how far the fog extended. He told Margaret he would be back soon. He stepped out into the swirling mist.
Harold, please be careful.
Margaret watched from the window. She saw his silhouette disappear into the fog. She waited and waited. But Harold did not return. Panic welled up inside her. She called out his name.
Harold, Harold, where are you?
Her voice was swallowed by the fog. There was no answer. Only the silence of the mist. She stood at the window for what seemed like an eternity. The fog pressed against the glass like a shroud.
Harold, Harold, where are you?
Margaret searched the house. She called Harold's name until her voice was hoarse, but there was no sign of him. She ran from room to room, her heart pounding in her chest. The fog seemed to be closing in. She felt suffocated by its oppressive presence.
Harold, please answer me.
She stumbled back to the window. The fog was as thick as ever. She could see nothing beyond the swirling mist. Desperation clawed at her. She had to get help. She had to find Harold. Margaret fled from Ashford Lodge. She ran through the fog, her breath catching in her throat. She didn't look back. She didn't stop running until she reached the village. She pounded on the door of the nearest house. Her cries for help echoed in the night.
Please, someone help me. Harold is missing. What happened? Where did you last see him?
The villagers searched for Harold. They searched through the night and into the next day, but they found nothing. Harold Thompson had vanished, swallowed by the fog and the secrets of Ashford Lodge. Ashford Lodge stood silent once more. The fog lifted. The sun broke through the clouds, but the house remained shrouded in shadow. Margaret left, her spirit broken. She never returned. The house stood empty, a testament to its dark history. The villagers avoided it. They spoke of it in hushed tones. They said that Harold Thompson had joined the ranks of those claimed by the curse. Ashford Lodge remained, a crumbling monument to a bygone era. It was a place of whispers and shadows, a place where the fog still lingered in the memory. And in the silence, one could almost hear them, the voices of those lost to the mist, their cries for help echoing through the years, a haunting reminder of the darkness that clung to Ashford Lodge.